Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here, taking a look at the Tuesday race of the day for June 17th. And you know what track we're going to? We're going out to Assiniboia for their fourth race on the program. It's an allowance event, non-winners of 2 life, 6 furlongs on the dirt. This is for the 3-year-olds and upward. An interesting group. You have a couple of horses that are either making a start off a long layoff or maybe their second start off a long layoff. You have a couple of horses that have been able to score either last time out or 2 starts back. Then you have some that just haven't been able to find their way. It's a little bit of a mix of everything in here, and that's where I think the Timeform US pace projection comes in handy, and it's a little interesting to see this. I agree with it. I don't completely agree with it. I do think the 3 Air Force Reserve is going to go. Goes basically in every single start with the exception of 2 back. Likes to be forward from the gate, especially on the dirt. Now, the outside 2 in here, the 7 B Lussell and 8 Northern Echo, they should be close. The 8 Northern Echo, probably more likely to try to go, gets blinkers on, has the outside draw, and B La Soul can be forward. I just feel like this horse is more of the type that's going to sit just off the pace setters, let them hook up early, and then be the first one to advance. I also want to point out I kind of don't agree with this because I think the 1 in here, Bottle Caps, could be more forward. Draws the inside, saves ground, second start off the layoff. Was certainly forward last time out and was able to score, so why really change his running style? So we'll see what Bottle Caps does. And speaking of this gelding, let's dive right into it and show his replay last time out. This is a horse that you might have thought, I know what I'm getting. 0 for 15 going into the race. Well, he finally graduated last time out, but in terms of his performance, he was more forward. That's sort of been his better performances going back to, say, his races at Arapahoe, but he's forward. He was able to kind of shake clear and deep stretch, and I thought he kicked on nicely. Now he gets the best figure ever now for a buyer. He got a 56. I thought that was impressive, and just his first time at Assiniboia. Maybe the new circuit was able to kind of, wake him up a little bit and get him rolling. So I understand why he's 5-2 on the morning line. I think he's obviously a major player. The barn doing well, and obviously Whitehall, the rider in here, always one to watch. So a lot to like about Bottle Caps off the graduation score. The 2 Conspiracy Theorists going to be a big price on the board, and gets a rider change to a rider that's probably had the most success with him. It's not probably, certainly has had the most success with him early in the career last year as a 2-year-old. And as a 3-year-old, he just hasn't been able to do, the things that we had seen last year. He doesn't have that late turn of foot. He's tried to. He's just had too much work to do in some of these races. So curious to see what we're going to get from him. I think he's a big price in here, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him run some of those efforts that we saw earlier in his career, and I think that's where he becomes intriguing in the bottom of the exotics if you're looking for a price. I could see, why you might like him a little bit in this field. The 3 Air Force Reserve, I mentioned it, he really has one way of going. He wants to go towards the front and try to last, and he's been able to pick up some minor shares along the way, but didn't love his performance last time out. It doesn't necessarily help his chances that the 2nd and 3rd place finishers he has to face once again. I think that's a little bit of a tall task for him against this field. So he's going to be a big price. He's going to be a pass for me in this event. The 4 Attaboy Cookie, we'll take a look at that effort that I was just talking about where several exit that race on June 2nd. And in terms of his performance, this horse always has so much work to do. He just has so much work to do. You see that time and time again. And I thought this was a good return to the races for him. You have to realize he hadn't raced since August of 2023. We're talking nearly a 2-year layoff. And he basically picked up where he left off. Very similar trip to what he got back on August 22nd of 2023. And, he's going to need to take a step forward. Sometimes with these long layoff horses, they're able to do that. Sometimes they take a step backward. It's really tough to say, but regardless, I think he's also going to need some pace help in here as he is a closer. And when the fractions were hotter 2 back, look how much closer he was to, being in front. He only missed by 3/4 of a length. So Attaboy Cookie I find really intriguing in this race. The 5 Better Make That 2. It's a horse that's a 3-time winner from 9 starts in the career. And you can see some of those were restricted for the Manitoba breds. Was able to get hot early, 3 wins in a row, and since then hasn't been able to find the winner's circle, and he's coming off a really long layoff as well. But this is a horse that we haven't seen in getting close to 2 years, not quite, right, but getting kind of closer to that number. And start to look at his workouts. I think his workouts, some of them have caught my eye, especially the one 2 back in late May, 48 flat. He was the fastest of 15 workers. I think he has enough sort of underneath him at this point with those 3 published drills to get ready to roll. But how short of a price do you want to take on a horse that is coming off a really long layoff, especially when there's others, and we'll get to a couple of those horses in a minute, that have, better recent form. The 6 Moonman Rules, this one for Maria Stanford, was able to graduate last time out, and I thought did it pretty nicely. Closed from off of it. The pace, pedestrian-like, 25, 49, and 1. They were crawling and still was able to advance. But big thing, did take a lot of money in there. It was a short field. Curious to see if this one can step up. I don't want to read too much into the buyers because those last couple have been really soft, but in the past this horse has been competitive and had better figures. So curious to see what he'll do in this spot. Curious to see how much money he'll take. I mentioned it. To me, it's impressive that he closes on such slow fractions, but at the same time, the buyer doesn't necessarily catch my eye. The 7 Be La Soul, we saw him as part of that replay with Attaboy Cookie, and he's the horse that finishes second. And I mean, the main thing is Medicine Dog is much the best, and Be La Soul was still 3/4 of a length clear of Attaboy Cookie. And I thought, in terms of the trip that Be La Soul got, it was a good one. I don't want to be critical of the trip. I just think Medicine Dog was much the best. And you go down the page, this horse has been pretty much competitive in all of his starts to date. So he's 6-5 on the morning line for a reason. I respect him. I do think he's going to be very, very tough in this spot. And the barn has just been on a tear, winning at nearly 40%. We're going to round out the field here with the number 8, Northern Echo, a son of Echo Town, who's going to get blinkers on. And I like this move. I think when you look at his debut, it was nice that he was able to win gate to wire. He gets a 34 buyer. And then we don't see him at all until his 3-year-old debut start, which was May 20th. And probably needed a race. Now gets blinkers. That should help him focus. He is going to have to go a little bit longer in terms of distance, stretching out from 5/8 to 3/4 of a mile. But I do think there's some intrigue with him, especially with this outside draw. He can muddy the waters early, I think, in terms of a pace perspective. And I have a feeling that's what the connections are going to try to do and see, how he can step up now in just his second start of the year as a 3-year-old. So a lot of upside with these horses, right, when they're lightly raced. For a couple of others in here, I feel like we know what they are. You don't necessarily know what the number 8 Northern Echo is. So that's the field of 8, race number 4 this Tuesday out at Assiniboia. Don't forget, with the race of the day for the Daily Racing Forum, free past performances on our website. And we will move to top pick time here in this field. And I told you I really respect the favorite in here, Be La Soul. I do think this is the horse to beat. I'm not going to get creative in terms of the top spot. I use him based on the trip that I think he's going to get. In terms of where he's going to be close to the action. He probably has first run on some of those deeper closers. But with that said, out of the closers, Attaboy Cookie I thought ran so well off that long layoff that I must use him somewhere. And I'm going to use him right in the second spot. I think he's going to be flying late. I'm of the opinion he's going to be able to take a step forward, and hopefully that the pace is just hotter than he encountered last time out. Not sure that's going to be the case, as they did go 47 and change to the half, but if there's any pace for him to run at, he should be flying late. So I'll use him in the second spot from here. Just a couple of other horses to consider. Looked at the 1, I looked at the 8, looked at the 6, didn't know what to do. Go to Bottle Caps. I think he maybe found his friends last time out at Assiniboia, so I used him in the third spot. And then my price underneath is the 6 Moonman Rules, who I mentioned, I'm impressed that he was able to close last time out. I know it was against the Manitoba Breds. You see a soft figure, but forgot to mention this. Go 2 starts back. Be La Soul wins by 5.5. Pretty impressive. This horse was 3rd in that race. I don't know. And then he was able to graduate next time out. So I just have this feeling Moonman Rules is better than his figures suggest. He'll be a big price, and we'll see if he can sneak into the exotics. The 7, Be La Soul, looks tough in the Tuesday race of the day out at Assiniboia. Good luck.